Welcome to Workout Wednesday for Power BI 2025 Week 2. This week we made an ice thickness infographic using only core visuals. We had to implement a couple workarounds to make it look a little nicer. Let's get started. Our data came directly from the challenge page, and then we'll add to it. We're going to start with the data that was given. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some things here to help me later. The first thing is I grabbed some images and put them in a GitHub repo. So I'm adding those images. In the solution file, you'll see a column called offset X, but I ended up not using it, so you can disregard. And you'll notice I also added a line. And so the original data was these first 6. I added a graph end, and you'll see why as we build out our line chart. I'm going to call that ice. I'm going to add an index column. Make sure my ice thickness is numeric. And the rest looks good. First, I will add a background image. And we'll choose fill. And let's make it 50% transparent. We don't want it to be the thing that stands out the most on the page. And then I added some text boxes. And we'll fix the background for this as we build out our visuals. I need to add a couple of DAX measures. First one is ice inches, and I'm just taking the thickness from the data source and multiplying by -1 and doing a max, which doesn't really matter because there's only going to be one value, one row from the data source that is there for each step down. I'm also going to add a label, and that's just going to help with that end of the line chart so that my labels and my lines add up to something that looks good. So if my index is 6, don't put anything. Otherwise, we scooted it over and then showed the number of inches followed by the word inches. So if we go back and look, the 6 index is the graph end. So I'm not going to label that. Before we get to the line, let's go ahead and make our table. And we need to go to our image and change that to an image URL. Sorry, this is a matrix, not a table. And we're going to say our weight item should be on columns. And our image should be on values, but I'm going to relabel that as just 2 spaces. And then I've got a little bit of work to do. So first, I want to make sure this gets put in the correct order. So I need to go to my weight item and sort by index. Then I'm going to filter out the graph end. We're going to do none and tabular here, just to start getting it formatted. And if we go to grid, we'll leave our grid lines off, but we're going to use slightly different color for borders. And we'll leave our options the same. If we go to column headers, we can change that as well. And this is going to be 14, bold, same color. And I am centering that. So this, I'm making it really small because we don't want a lot of space on the left. We really don't have row headers. So the text color isn't really there, but we'll go ahead and change it to white. Leave the background color. Wrapping doesn't really matter. We don't need subtotals. We are going to go into specific columns and make sure that our images are center aligned, as are our headers. And there we go. I'm going to change my image size just a bit here. And we'll definitely come back, we can do it now, and make the alt text align with the weight item here. Get this lined up where I want it. And turn the background off. So now we really don't notice the grid line. And we're just seeing the background picture. Add some alt text in there. And then we just need to space this out a little bit. And we'll fix it more. We're just kind of getting it mostly in place right now. We're going to build our line chart and then we'll finish lining those up. All right, the way I did this was I actually built 2 line charts. So we'll add the first one. And I did that because I don't really like the labeling. Technically, I guess it's an area chart. You'll see. So for this one, I'm going to put index on the x-axis and inches on the y. And this is eventually going to make our stepped line here. So we have to format it a bit. We need first to go into the x-axis and turn off our volume and title. We're going to go, since this is static data, we have a little more ability to format since we know it won't change. And we'll get it down to -16 to get the right height going there. And then we're going to turn off our title and values there. Grid lines will stay off. We are going to format our lines. So we'll leave it solid round, make it 4 pixels, set it to step, and then make the step after. My color is going to be white because I'm going to change the background. So the shade area, we're going to do white at 50%. And right now you can't see anything because of the background. That's expected. And we'll go fix that in a second. So we're going to say, oh, I need to move this up a little. So I'm going to turn the background off here, and then I'm going to go back and change a little something else, but now you can see our steps that we're going to align to. And what I did was add a plot area background. So I just made a blue-ish rectangle to fill the background. And we're going to set it to fit and change the transparency to 20%. And eventually we'll move that text box to the front. So this is looking okay. We don't need the title. And you'll see there's a little bit of a white strip here, which I actually like to represent where the snow starts in the greater report page. Now, the problem with just using the one line chart is if I turn on data labels, they hit in a weird place, and I could change what they say, but they'll never be kind of centered where I want them. So what I did was add an additional line chart. So we add a line chart. We'll put index on the x-axis, ice inches on the y. Similar to what we did before. And you can copy this formatting, but again, it's turn off your x-axis, set your y range to -16 and 1, turn off the values and the title. In our line, we're just going to set this to a 0 width line, but we're still going to change it to step with the step position after. Since it's 0 width, it doesn't matter what the color is. There are no markers, but there are data labels. So here we turn on data labels, but then for the value, we're going to do label. So fix up some formatting here. This one's going to be not quite as wide. We don't need the title. Oh, I think I forgot to change the padding on the other one, which will help it look better. There we go. We turned off our background. I'm going to make sure my tooltips are off on the lower one. Just so it's easier to grab, I'm renaming these. And these are the labels. All right. So in our layer order, we're going to do the line below the labels. let's go mess with our data labels some more. All of the data labels should show up. We want consistent font. I'm going to make these 16. Keep that color. And this is not lining up because I need to filter out index of 6. There we go. This won't line up exactly perfectly, but it will be close enough that most people will never notice. And then we just adjust our matrix so that the images are mostly centered over their labels. And then we'll move this back down. I positioned it so that the single person is kind of walking on the thick top of this. You can play around with that a little bit. Make sure you do your alt text, set your tab order. Yep, good to go. That is our ice thickness infographic with a matrix and 2 line charts or area charts, however you'd like to look at those. And again, I can turn off my tooltip to help with the interactivity. Layering on top with a transparent background made this all work. That's it for this week's solution. Thanks for watching.